Good afternoon to everyone. Today my talk on the Bethesda system for reporting thyroid cytopathology. The Bethesda system is the tiered reporting system for the thyroid FNA specimens. It is a very accurate and very brief in manner, so it is easy to the physician and surgeon to manage the patient. The Bethesda system divided the thyroid lesion into the six categories. One is non-diagnostic or unsatisfactory. Second is benign. Third is ATP undetermined significance or follicular lesion of undetermined significance. The fourth one is follicular neoplasia or suspicion of follicular neoplasm. The fifth is suspicion of malignancy, and the sixth is malignant. In my talk, the first half divided, we talk into the first five category, and in my second half of the seminar is on for the malignancies. The diagnostic terminology and reporting. The Bethesda system uh, reporting thyrocytopathology implied risk of malignancy and reminder of its management. As you know that it divided into the six category and according to their risk according to the category. The first category is non-diagnostic or unsatisfactory. The chances of malignancy is 5 to 10%. The usual management should be repeat FNA with ultrasound guided. The second category is benign. The chances of malignancy is 0 to 3%. The usual management is clinical and sonographic follow-up should be done. These first two category are come under the green zone because the chances of malignancy is very less, 5 to mainly 5 to 10%. The third category is ATP of undetermined significance of follicular lesion of undetermined significance. The chances of malignancy has increased 10 to 30%. The usual management is repeat FNA, molecular testing or lobectomy should be done. The fourth category is follicular neoplasm or suspicion for follicular neoplasm. Chances of malignancy 25 to 40%. Usual management should be molecular testing or lobectomy. The fifth category is suspicion for malignancy. The chances of malignancy is much higher than first four category. Here is the chances of malignancy is 50 to 75%. The usual management in near total thyroidectomy or lobectomy should be carried out. The last category is malignant. The chances of malignancy is almost 90 to 100%. The usual management is near total thyroidectomy or lobectomy should be carried out. The criteria for adequacy: a thyroid FNA sample is considered to be adequate or evaluation if it contains a minimum of 6 group of well visualized follicular cells with at least 10 cells per group, preferably on the single slide. It should be well stained and undistorted and unobstructed. The exception for the exception for the adequacy. Here is the three exceptions. Solid nodule with cytological ATP. If the ATPI is present, there is no requirement of minimum number of follicle cells. Number second is solid nodule with inflammation. If inflammatory cells, lymphocyte, thyroiditis or thyroid abscess or granuloma is present on this smear. Here is also no minimum number of follicle cells required. The third is colloid nodules. If the nodule is colloid form and the abundant colloid is present on this smear, here also no need of minimum number of follicle cells required. What is the non-diagnostic unsatisfactory smear? The when we can say that it is a smear, this smear is unsatisfactory if the less than 6 group of well preserved wells 10 follicle cells with minimum of 10 each cells. The poorly prepared or poorly stained or significantly obscured follicular cells, the cystic fluid with or without histiocytes, and fewer than 6 group of 10 benign follicle cells. Uh, Here is some non-diagnostic or unsatisfactory smear. Upper left picture showing the difficult stent showing the RBCs only, there is no follicular cell. Upper right picture showing the aspirate of skeletal muscle fragment. Lower left picture showing the bronchial columnar ciliated columnar epithelial cells, there is no follicular cells, and lower right picture showing the air dry defect. So these are the all are the unsatisfactory smear just because of there is no follicular cell in the smear. Here some also some other no, non-diagnostic unsatisfactory smear. Upper left smear is hemorrhagic aspirate. The hidden follicular cell are present, but there is non-diagnosis just because they are not clear. Upper right picture is hemocyanin-laden macrophages seen and with cystic fluid. There is no follicular cells. Lower picture showing the macrophages. So these all are also the unsatisfactory smear. Our second entity is benign. The benign or negative is also called the negative for malignancy and non-neoplastic. Benign cytopathology is associated very low risk of malignancy, and patients are usually followed conservatively with periodic clinical and radiological examination. Benign results are further subclassified as benign follicular nodule thyroiditis or other less common entities. The nodular goiter is most commonly sampled lesion by FNA, and chronic lymphocytic or Hashimoto thyroiditis is the most common encounter form of thyroiditis. First is benign follicular nodule. The benign follicular nodule applies to the cytological sample that is adequate for evaluation and consists of colloid and benign appearing of follicular cell in a varying proportion. The general term benign follicular uh, nodule may be utilized in cytology reporting. Subclassification as a more specific benign diagnosis such as colloid nodule, nodular goiter, hyperplastic adenomatoid nodule, or Graves' disease may also be used, depending on the cytomorphic finding and associated clinical presentation. The criteria for diagnosis: colloid is viscous, shiny, and light yellow or gold in color. Thin watery colloid often form a thin membrane cell phone-like coating. The thick colloid has a hyaline quality and often show cracks. The follicular cells are arranged in predominantly in monolayer sheets in the form of architecture form of honeycomb-like. Here left picture showing the diffuse stain, the cracking glass appearance of colloid material, and right picture showing the pepenacolloid stain with orange, pink or green in color. That is the benign morphology. Left picture showing the Bartry colloid present with the background monomorphic type of follicular cells, and picture B is thick colloid with monomorphic clusters of monomorphic follicular cells. The picture A is monolayer sheet of follicular cells are the predominantly, and picture B is a colloid is easier to recognize when it is formed characteristically in fold and lacunae. Here is the three-dimension dimension variably sized wall of follicular cells, the sheets of follicular cells. Picture A is benign follicular cells have a delicate cytoplasm and ill-defined borders, while the picture B is the follicular cells may be contain golden brown cytoplasm, hemocytoma. All are the benign morphology of follicular cells. Here also the both pictures are showing the benign morphology in honeycomb appearance. Here is the benign follicular nodule showing the papillary-like form, so we can rule out the papillary thyroid carcinoma. It is also benign thyroid cyst. The cystic degenerative changes of abundant macrophages are seen. Within the macrophages, there is a cluster of follicular cells, monomorphic called follicular cells. Our second entity is Graves' disease. Graves' disease is an autoimmune diffuse hyperplastic thyroid disease commonly seen in middle-aged women and usually diagnosed clinically due to the hyperthyroidism. Most patients have a diffuse rather than nodular enlargement of the thyroid gland and do not require FNA for diagnosis. Here is the benign follicular nodule patient cells of mononuclear sheets have abundant cytoplasm. Fragment cells are distinctive. Their marginal cytoplasmic vacuoles also visualized. Benign follicular nodule patient or patient with Graves' disease, the nuclei are often enlarged, vesicular, and show prominent nuclei, and on anisonucleosis is prominent. The cytoplasm has a granular oncocytic appearance. Third entity is the lymphocytic thyroiditis. The lymphocytic thyroiditis applies to a cytological sample composed of a many polymorphic lymphoid cells associated with benign thyroid follicular cells or Hurther cells or oncocytic cells. The criteria for diagnosis specimen are usually hypercellular but advanced fibrosis or dilution seen. An interpretation of lymphocytic thyroiditis does not require a minimum number of follicular cells or Hurther cells or oncocytic cells for adequacy. Oncocytic cells, when present, are arranged in flat sheets or as isolated cells. They have abundant granular cytoplasm, large nuclei, and prominent nucleoli. Here is the picture A showing there is a mixed population of Hurther cells and polymorphic lymphocytic within it. The picture B is Hurther cells has abundant granular cytoplasm, large nuclei, and prominent nucleoli. The upper left picture showing the lymphocytes are dispersed as isolated cell in infiltrate cluster of Hurther cells. The picture B is Hurther cells or oncocytic cells, abundant granular cytoplasm and prominent nuclei. The lower pictures showing the germinal center fragments are often present, comprised of heterogeneous mix of polymorphic lymphocyte or large dendritic cells. The picture A or left picture is the Hurther cells may be predominant in any given sample, raising the possibility of Hurther cell neoplasm. The picture B is the lymphocyte cells may be predominant in the aspirate. Our fourth entity is granulomatous or decumbent thyroiditis. Granulomatous or decumbent thyroiditis is a self-limiting inflammatory condition of the thyroid that is usually diagnosed clinically and believed to be triggered by a viral infection. FN is generally performed only if there is a nodularity that raises the possibility of a coexisting malignancy. The criteria for diagnosis: the granuloma formation consists of epithelioid histiocytes are present along with many multinucleated germ cells. The early stage demonstrate many neutrophils and eosinophils similar to the acute thyroiditis. In later stage, preparation are hypocellular. They show giant cells surrounding and engulf colloid and epithelioid cells and lymphocyte, macrophage, and scan degenerated follicular cells. In the evolutional stage, germ cells and inflammatory cells may be absent. Some specimens may be insufficient for evaluation. Here the picture of granulomatous thyroiditis, epithelioid histiocytes mixed with inflammatory cells and benign thyroid follicular cells in arrow. The inset showing the high magnification of granuloma. Our fifth entity is acute thyroiditis. Acute thyroiditis is a rare infectious condition of the thyroid, more commonly seen in immunocompromised patients. The criteria for diagnosis in numerous neutrophils are associated with necrosis, fibrin, macrophages, and blood. There are scant reactive follicular cells and limited to absent colloid. Bacterial or fungal organisms are occasionally seen in the background, especially in immunocompromised patients. Culture and specimen scan for organism may be helpful in these situations. Mainly the two bacteria cause the acute thyroiditis, Staphylococcus aureus and Streptococcus pyogenes. Here is the acute picture for acute thyroiditis, the numerous neutrophils and occasionally macrophages. The renal thyroiditis. This is the rarest form of thyroiditis and result in progressive fibrosis of the thyroid gland with extension into the soft tissue of the neck. Renal thyroiditis is believed to be a manifestation of systemic Ig4 related disease in the thyroid, and 1/3 of the patient develop fibrosing disorder in the other organs. A hard fixed thyroid mass clinically simulates anaplastic thyroid carcinoma and lymphoma. Criteria for diagnosis: the thyroid gland feels very firm on palpation. The preparations are often acellular. Collagen stents and blend spindle cells may be present. There are rare chronic inflammatory cells. Colloid and follicular cells are usually absent. Here is the renal thyroiditis showing the hypocellular smear containing scattered blend spindle cells and rare chronic inflammatory cells. Our third diagnostic category is atypia of undetermined significance or follicular lesion of undetermined significance. The definition for AUS and FLUS, the diagnostic category of atypia undetermined significance or follicular lesion of undetermined significance, is reserved for the specimen that contains cells, follicular, lymphoid, or other cells with architectural or nuclear atypia that is not sufficient to be classified as suspicious for a follicular neoplasm, suspicious for malignancy, or malignant. On the other hand, the atypia is more marked than can be ascribed confidentially to be benign changes. Although the term AUS is preferred on the FLUS is an acceptable alternative for the greater majority of cases in which the atypia is of follicular cell origin, not lymphoid or other. Laboratories should use only one term, either ATP undetermined significance or follicular lesion of undetermined significance. The use of both terms in the same laboratory as a means of subclassification. Example for like ATP undetermined significance or cytological atypia or FLUS for the architectural atypia is discouraged because this practice is confusing and antithetical to the concept that AUS and FLUS are synonymous. First is the cytological atypia. Here is the focal cytological atypia. The picture is showing the atypia of undetermined significance. For most of the follicular cells are arranged in a benign appearing macrofollicles pattern fragments. The picture B is the rare cells have a pale nuclei and mildly regular nuclear membrane. These are the pictures of uh, atypical follicular cells. And B is extensive but mild cytological atypia. Atypia undetermined significance with cytological atypia. Follicular cells are showing mild enlargement of most nuclei and containing hemocyanin pigment, follow up by the papillary carcinoma. Follow up for the papillary carcinoma. And the atypical cystic lining cells. The picture A, in this sparsely acellular smear, some of cells have abundant cytoplasm, enlarged nuclei, and prominent nuclei. One nucleus has a apparently intranuclear pseudo-inclusion. Arrow is showing the intranuclear inclusion. The picture B is the repetitive like changes of the cystic lining cells can mimic some cytological feature of papillary carcinoma. The histiocytoid atypia of undetermined significance on picture A is the cystic papillary carcinoma like cells are often showing the degenerative vacuoles. These cells have been termed histiocytoid. The picture B in the is seen in the loose cluster and it's like a microfollicular group architecture. The architectural atypia. Picture A showing the scanning magnification reveal the sparsely cellular specimen with predominant of microfollicles. The picture B is a high magnification of microfollicles. This picture showing the smear showing the cells of arranged in the trabecular configuration with associated endothelial cells, blood vessels. Naked nuclei are prominent in the background and colloid is absent. The cytological and architectural atypia. This picture is showing the architectural atypia is manifest by the crowded three-dimensional configuration of follicular cells. Cytological atypia is also evident with nuclear enlargement, slightly chromatin paler, and rare nuclear groups are seen. Hurther cell aspirate. Here the atypia of indeterminate significance showing the Hurther cells, especially cellular with abundant blood. Here the atypia of indeterminate significance showing the Hurther cells with multinodular goiter. This patient had two nodules, both showing the almost exclusive oncocyte follicular cells. atypia are not otherwise specific. The picture is showing the atypia. These follicular cells in a patient with Graves' disease treated with methimazole And picture B is these atypical follicle cells were obtaining from a patient with history of aneurysm radiation to the neck. This is the atypia of Samoma bodies. Atypical lymphoid cells to rule out lymphoma. This is the benign or papillary hyperplasia of it, to rule out the papillary carcinoma of thyroid. This is this picture showing air-dried artifact. Our fourth diagnostic category is follicular neoplasm, suspicious for follicular neoplasm. The follicular neoplasm or suspicious for follicular neoplasm refer to a cellular aspirate comprised of follicular cells, most of which are arranged in an altered architecture pattern characterized by significant cellular crowding or microfollicular formation. The sample should be at least moderately cellular, especially cellular aspirate are excluded from this category and could be interpreted as atypia of undetermined significance or follicular lesion of undetermined significance. Cases that demonstrate suspicious or definitive nuclear features for papillary carcinoma are excluded from this category and should be classified as a suspicious for malignancy or malignant respectively. The criteria for diagnosis is the cytology preparation are moderately or mildly cellular. There is a significant alteration in follicular cells architecture characterized by cell crowding, microfollicles, and dispersed isolated cells. Nuclei are usually round and slightly hyperchromatic with inconspicuous nuclei. Some nuclear atypia may be seen either enlarged variably sized nuclei and prominent nuclei, or enlarged nuclei with nuclear contour is regularity and mild or focal chromatic clearing. Colloid is scant or absent. Here, left picture is showing the follicular neoplasm, suspicious for follicular neoplasm. Here is left picture showing the uniform follicular cells arranged in crowded or clustered. They are all are microfollicles, as well as picture A and picture B. The follicular neoplasm or suspicious for follicular neoplasm. Picture A is showing the crowded of follicular cells arranged in the form of microfollicles, and also the picture B with the scanty colloid material and with hyperchromatic nuclei. Left picture showing the microfollicles may contain small amount of colloid, and picture B also the small amount of pink colloid. The follicular neoplasm, suspicious follicular neoplasm is in some cases tuberculi of crowded follicle cells are more conspicuous than microfollicles. The follicular neoplasm or Hurther cell type, suspicious for follicular neoplasm Hurther cell type or oncocytic type. The interpretation of follicular neoplasm Hurther cell type or suspicious for follicular neoplasm Hurther cell type referred to be a cellular aspirate that consists exclusively Hurther cells. Hurther cells with nuclear features of papillary carcinoma are excluded from this category, although in some cases the distinction may be difficult. The criteria for the diagnosis, the sample consists exclusively Hurther cell or oncocytic cell. Abundant finally granular cytoplasm, blue or gray pink with Romanovsky stain, green with Papanicolaou stain, and pink with hematoxylin and eosin. Enlarged center or acentric located round nucleus present, prominent nucleolus, small cell with high nuclear cytoplasmic ratio, large cell with a least 2 times variability in nuclear size or large cell dysplasia. This is the picture of oncocytic of follicular neoplasia, showing the aspirate consists of population of Hurther cells in crowded group and is isolated form. The background is colloid and lymphocytic. The follicular neoplasm Hurther cell type has aspirate showing the loosely cohesive large Hurther cells with markedly anisonucleosis. The follicular neoplasia of Hurther cell type showing the aspirate comprise almost exclusively small Hurther cells. Upper left picture showing the some hurdles and new plant can be difficult to distinguish from a medullary carcinoma by cytomorphic alone. The upper right picture of picture B is immunohistochemical study on a cell block preparation are positive for thyroglobin. Picture C is suspicious for cells are negative for calcitonin. That's why this is excluded that for the medullary carcinoma of thyroid. So this is the follicular neoplasia. Our fifth diagnostic category is suspicious for malignancy. The diagnostic category suspicious for malignancy is used when some cytomorphic feature, most often those of papillary thyroid carcinoma, raise a strong suspicion of malignancy, but the findings are not sufficient for a conclusive diagnosis. Specimen, Specimens that are suspicious for a follicular or Hubble cell neoplasm are excluded from this category. For the category suspicion for follicular suspicion for malignancy, the morphological changes are of such a degree that a malignancy is considered more likely that not. The criteria of diagnosis, the suspicious for papillary thyroid carcinoma are divided into four type of pattern. Number one pattern is patchy nuclear changes pattern. Pattern 2 is B. Pattern B is incomplete nuclear changes pattern. Pattern C is partially cellular specimen pattern. And pattern D is cystic degeneration pattern. The pattern A is patchy nucleus changes pattern. This is the pattern A of papillary thyroid suspicious for papillary thyroid carcinoma. The sheets of follicular cells displays some features of papillary carcinoma, including nuclear enlargement, powdery chromatin, nuclear membrane regular, and nuclear groups and molding also seen, and small nuclei. The changes were patchy, however, and other follicular sheets look benign. This is also the uh, suspicious for papillary thyroid carcinoma. Pattern A. This loose sheets of follicular cells demonstrate enlarged nuclei, powdery chromatin nuclei, and nuclear groups. The pattern B is incomplete or nuclear changes pattern. This is the pattern B of suspicious for papillary thyroid carcinoma. Um, in this specimen, there were generalized but the mild nuclear changes. A loose sheets of follicular cells show the slightly enlarged nuclei, variable chromatin payload, and small but prominent nuclei, and nuclear group and minimum molding seen. The pattern C is sparsely cellular specimen pattern. Many of the feature of papillary thyroid carcinoma are present, but the sample is very sparsely cellular. The pattern D is cystic degeneration pattern. This is a pattern D, suspicious of papillary thyroid carcinoma. There is a loose sheet of histiocytoid cells with vacuolated cytoplasm, occasionally small nuclei and small internuclear pseudoinclusions seen. The suspicious for medullary thyroid carcinoma. The criteria for diagnosis is the sample is sparsely or moderately cellular. There is monomorphic population of non-cohesive small or medium-sized cells with a high nuclear cytoplasmic ratio. Nuclei are eccentrically located with much chromatin due to the suboptimal preservation. There are no dispersible cytoplasmic granules. There may be small fragments of amorphous material, colloid versus amyloid. There is inadequate material for ancillary immunohistochemical study to confirm a diagnosis of medullary carcinoma. Here is the picture showing the suspicion for medullary thyroid carcinoma. The loosely group of cells with relatively uniform nuclei, occasionally large nuclei with prominent nuclei are present. This ill-defined cells border make it difficult to discuss the nature of the cytoplasm, the nuclear cytoplasmic ratio, and the plasmacytoid contour of these cells. This is the picture showing the suspicion for medullary thyroid carcinoma. This loose sheets of relatively uniform cells has a granular and vacuolated cytoplasm and ill-defined cell border. Suspicion for lymphoma. The criteria for diagnosis: the cellular sample is composed of numerous monomorphic small to intermediate size of lymphoid cells. There is an inadequate material for ancillary flow cytometry or immunohistochemical study to confirm a diagnosis of lymphoma. The sample is sparsely cellular and contains atypical lymphoid cells. Here is the lab picture showing for suspicion for lymphoma. The hemodilution sample is comprised exclusively of lymphoid cells, and picture B is at high magnification. Rare large atypical lymphoid cells are present, but most of the cells are disrupted and appear as a bare nuclei in the absence of immunophenotyping studies. Thank you for listening.